Good evening, Brooke Riley sitting here with Sophia Marshall, the new SGA president-elect. Sophia, how does it feel to officially have this title?
It's crazy. I feel very humbled. This whole week has been, a whirlwind, and been able to talk to some really amazing people this week, and reach out and hear their perspective on a couple, hot button topics. So it's crazy. I'm blown away by the support that I've gotten, not only this year but just the past, three. So it's crazy.
And obviously this year was a little bit different. You were running unopposed. What did that kind of look like for you? Did you feel like you knew you were going to get this, or was it kind of different? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it was for sure different. I think much less stress, for sure. But, it definitely felt a little bit weird to, not be running against anybody. I think the past years, especially because we've been on campus, the climate has been very different for elections, So I think it was more just, instead of campaigning about myself, I got to campaign on, the issues that the students cared about. And it was more about, seeking information as opposed to, shoving my platform in people's faces, which was a really nice change, I think. But yeah, I mean, it was definitely very different. And, I feel more motivated, I think, with this one, because I need to prove myself. I know not that I didn't earn it, but it's different. I feel very energized in the fact that I need to, prove myself this upcoming year, and I can't take anything for granted because, I didn't run against anybody, and I did run unopposed, and I'm very, I think I'm acknowledging that a lot, and kind of taking that as motivation to be the best president that I can be this upcoming year, because I need to be, because the student body didn't have another option.
And I know last night during the town hall, you mentioned that you have 8 different goals in this role. Can you elaborate on some of the most important ones to you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one of the things that was really important for me was to have sort of a set purpose for the president this upcoming year, because I feel like typically the president is that kind of person that, mediates and moderates things and is very reactive as opposed to proactive. So this year I wanted to have kind of, set guidelines for myself in order to make sure that I fully 100% take advantage of this position this year. So one of the things that I felt, worked okay this year, but could definitely be improved, was our steering committee. This was the first year that we had that. And it's comprised of the president, vice president, student experience vice president, and then all the presidents of each cabinet. So, it's a very exciting space where we can really, do a lot. But, I feel like this year we kind of use that space as more of a like, oh, what are students saying? What are students saying? As opposed to like, this is what the students are saying that we know they're saying. How are we going to fix it? So this year, just based off of what I've heard from the past and, what I've done so far in SGA, I kind of set 3 goals for that committee right off the bat. And then, obviously that could change. That's not 100% set in stone, because at the end of the day, steering committee is supposed to, function for the students. And if there's something super pressing, we're going to address it. But, I wanted to really sort of set those goals so that we're 100% productive. We're always doing stuff. And I also wanted to have an event run by steering, because right now our student experience committee runs Ask Away, and then the vice president runs State of the Union. And those are kind of the 2 SGA huge events that we think about when you think about events coming out of SGA. But I want to have some sort of event come out of steering as well, because I feel like that's, the leadership of the organizations. It's something that, we could 100% put together a really fun, cool event that a lot of people get excited about. So the events that I have, the goals that I have for steering committee are to, 1, improve external affairs with the town of Hamden. That's something that I worked on this past year as vice president, something I want to continue doing. And it's nice that we can do it in steering now, because we have a little bit more freedom than, the vice president role does, who, talks about initiatives a lot, and that's their role, is overseeing those initiatives. The second thing that I want to sort of enact is this Bobcat Day committee, which would be steering committee. And Bobcat Day is an initiative that I'm working on currently, to basically bring a day in the spring next semester, not next semester, next year, bring a day in the spring next year. President only, we cancel classes. It would be this big day for all the Quinnipiac students to come onto the quad. We hike the Giant in the morning, have a breakfast up there served by the faculty. And then we come down. It would be a really cool day of tradition that would happen every single spring. So that steering committee would serve as sort of the group of people that gets different student organizations to buy into that once it's approved, hopefully. And, get different presentations and performances from different student organizations, so that it's really a day of community. So that would be the second goal. And then the third goal is one thing that SGA has definitely struggled with over the course of a few years, and really since I've been here, is accountability. I think we saw, I think under the president 2 years ago, Ryan Hicks, we saw a pretty good model of accountability, but I want to expand on that and sort of set a model at the beginning of the year for retention, accountability, and sort of that community sense that we need to be productive as SGA. So, definitely setting the tone early and just having that for sure model. If this is what happens, then, you're not serving the students to the best of your ability, then, we're going to have consequences to that, because at the end of the day, we are elected by the student body, and, we need to act like it. So I think that's another thing that I plan on talking about, with steering, to set that plan at the very beginning. So that way we have not only the executive board on board with it, but all of the leaders of the organization as well. So I think that'll be really important. And other than that, I think a few of the biggest things, I want to form a committee of myself and then all of the other like really big student leaders on campus. So like the IFC and Panhellenic presidents, the MSLC president, the SVO president, the GSA president, and kind of have sort of a group that can meet twice a semester to talk about, the issues they're seeing within their groups, and, sort of hold SGA accountable for the work that we promised to do over the course of the semester. I obviously have others, but I think those are my biggest goals for sure.
And now my next question kind of goes off of one of your goals. What you said was, how will you hold the other executive board members accountable to their roles to make sure they're excelling?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great question. I think, being on executive board this past year, I kind of saw how Austin Calvo, our current, past president, functioned. And I think because I have sort of knowledge of how especially the vice president role works, but I feel like I have a pretty good handle of what's needed from all the different roles. I think that I'm gonna be very cognizant of the fact that I'm kind of the person that's in charge of making sure that those people are being incredibly productive, and I have 100% faith in my team. I think having 3 returners on e-board is huge. And Barbara and Jamie especially, I have so much faith in them. They did an amazing job this past year. I'm so excited to, be able to work with them again this year. But I mean, I think just overall, I think we have a great team, and I think it's really just about not only me holding everybody accountable, but everybody else holding all of us mutually accountable. But I mean, I plan on doing for sure weekly check-ins and make sure that people are actually doing the work that they're saying they're doing, so that nothing can slip through the cracks, because, I'm planning on having the best year that we've seen in the next 4 years this year. So.
Now, another issue that SGA has seen in the past is about e-board members stepping down from their roles and resigning. How will you encourage members not to resign from their roles, especially in the last year? We've seen that quite a bit. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I think this past year, we saw 2 e-board members step down, which was really unprecedented. And in the years before that, we had, I think my freshman year, we had 1. So it's definitely something that we've sort of seen, especially here. But, like I said, I have a lot of confidence in my team. And I think just sort of like having that first meeting with them, setting the tone, being like, hey, look, like this is a position, this is a big deal. We were elected by the students. And, I think a lot of times the reason that e-board members step down is because they're in over their heads. So, I think the number one thing that I want to sort of work on in respect to this issue is making sure that I can, lend a hand wherever I can so they don't get to that point. I think just being transparent as a group and saying when people are, in over their heads is going to be really, really important. Because if we don't know, if I don't know that somebody's struggling, then I won't be able to help them. So I think just setting the tone at the beginning, saying if you're in over your head, if you're, in this position where you feel like you need help, let me know. And like I said, I have a lot of confidence in our returners, and our new members, I'm sure, are going to do amazing things as well. I think it's going to be awesome. I have a lot of confidence.
It's generally said that you could make or break your presidency within the first 100 days. What are your plans for the first 100 days of your presidency? Obviously, it's a little different being that you're doing it all virtually.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great point. I think one thing that I'm really excited about and that I plan to do pretty much immediately is, because it's only executive board, obviously there isn't a whole lot of member development that we can do this upcoming summer, which is fine. But I think one thing that I really am excited to do is have that first meeting with that group that I talked about a little bit earlier, that sort of committee of, leadership that I plan on making, have a meeting with them, sort of see where their heads are at, what we can do to help them over the course of the summer. I think just looking towards the fall and preparing for that, I think one of the biggest things is making sure that my team is ready, making sure that everyone's geared up, especially with PR and student experience and even with finance, really all the positions for all of the big things that we have coming in the fall with budgeting and with, we've got elections and the involvement fair and all of this stuff. So I think not only making sure that we're ready for elections, but also making sure that different organizations are ready for the involvement fair and making sure that, we can help them in any way that we can, because I think obviously we've seen the sort of natural downtrend of student involvement over the past few years. So I think that anything that we can do to help student organizations, maybe with PR or with, strategizing on how to increase retention and involvement there, I think that we can sort of serve as resources for those organizations if they need it. So I think just looking towards the fall, making sure my team's ready, having that accountability plan ready to go, writing up a contract for elections to make sure that everyone's on board when they're running and they sort of know what they're signing up for. And so that when we get that body in the fall, we can just pick up right away, have those trainings in place, and all of that stuff.
And what challenges do you see getting in your way throughout doing all of this?
I think the biggest thing is probably going to be the fact that there's a possibility that, we'll have to stay online in the fall, or even just the fact that we have to be online, most likely for the summer. I think one of the biggest things is there's a lot of uncertainty in budgeting right now at the university. There's a lot of uncertainty about when orientation is going to be. There's a lot of what ifs and maybes, and we're not sures right now. So I think that is going to be the biggest thing I see getting in the way of the success of our new e-board for the summer, especially just because administration is dealing with so many things right now. But I think, we have a really strong team. We have really good communication skills, and we have really good relationships with those administrators. So I think, we just have to figure everything out together, and nobody knows right now about any of this stuff, and it's definitely a scary time and something that we need to take very seriously. So, that's obviously going to be the priority, is the safety of the students at Quinnipiac. And unfortunately, if that means, sacrificing some other things, that's what you have to do. But, hopefully we'll be able to come back in the fall, and have a very normal sort of situation happen. But, there is going to be the conversation about what happens if we don't come back, which I don't think is very likely, but, we need to plan for that and, have an alternative sort of situation scenario, if that does happen. So I foresee that being the biggest thing, is just, the possibility and all the uncertainty surrounding COVID-19 and all of that.
And where do you see SGA and the student body as a whole a year from now?
A year from now, I see the student body really invested in some of the really cool, ideas, especially related to spirit and tradition that we have pushing, this upcoming year. I think that's one of my other big goals. And I think a lot of my fellow e-board elects share this sort of vision of, creating a Quinnipiac with a lot of really rich tradition and history. Hopefully we see a Bobcat Day. Hopefully we see, a bunch of other really cool initiatives that we hope to, push out this upcoming year. I think we're going to have a conversation about the legend of the Bobcat in the coming year, and whether or not that's something that, efficiently is serving the students the way that we should, and if it's paying homage to the indigenous people that were on the land before us well enough, because I think that's obviously an issue right now, and that we're having conversations about that now. We're going to continue to have in the summer and into the next year. So, I think I would love to see a campus more invested in Quinnipiac and what, it has to offer, because it's really, really an amazing place, as anybody who gets involved knows. So I think just the biggest focuses are going to be those new traditions and getting people involved in the things that Quinnipiac has to offer, because once you get involved, you don't go back, and you have such a rich and amazing experience here. And in terms of SGA, I'm sorry, I forgot about that part. But no, I think in terms of SGA, I see a very, devoted and dedicated group of students that, got a lot done, was very productive, but also cares about the organization and loves the organization so much. I see us having high retention, and just having a really invested group of people that goes out and actually talks to the students, not just during elections, during the whole year.
And finally, what could you tell the students that voted you in today? What are your thoughts to share them with?
So freshman year, I was at welcome weekend, and I looked up at Ryan Lynch, the president at the time, and I turned to the girl sitting to my left, and I said, that's going to be me in 3 years. Definitely a naive statement at the time. I had no idea what was going to happen in terms of my transformation as a leader and as a person. But, I'm incredibly thankful to be here. And, I'm so thankful for all of the support from freshman year to now that I've gotten from my peers. Thank you so much for believing in me. And please know that even though I ran unopposed, I'm not going to take this position for granted. I never have, and I never will be able to serve on it. Is genuinely always, it has been, and it will continue to be the best part of my college experience. And I have a lot of ideas, and I know you guys have a lot of ideas too. So, always come to my office, text me, reach me, because I want this vision to be the vision that you want as well. I think that, it's going to be a community effort to make this a really amazing year this upcoming year. But I think that we can do it. So thank you guys for believing in me.
Thank you very much for joining me, Sophia. Good luck and congratulations. We look forward to following your journey in the next year.
Thanks so much, Brooke. I appreciate it.